Issue 99. We start out with Sonic and Tails sneaking back home at night because Tails was probably with him because of the SA2 adaptation that was totally almost skipped. Only for Sonic's parents to catch him saying how worried they were. Apparently they hadn't seen Tails since yesterday, and Sonic's mother says they do have a right to know what's going on in his life, and even Sonic's father agrees that he thinks of Tails as Sonic's little brother. Fortunately, we cut away from Sonic's explanation so that we don't have a giant recap, and we cut back to the Acorn family going down a red carpet in front of a cheering crowd, with one of Jeffrey's men pushing King Acorn's wheelchair for him because I guess he doesn't feel like rolling the wheels himself. You'd think he would at least get a fancy wheelchair that moves on its own so that there doesn't have to be any pushing at all. I mean, he is the king. Sally thinks to herself that she's got everything she ever wanted. A family, a peaceful kingdom, except for the fact that Eggman's still around and constantly menacing it. But she's lost touch with her friends, and wonders unhappily if this is what it truly means to be a princess. After Jeffrey approaches Sally saying he has some bad news to report, and we see that this Tails remembers being whisked away by Aether to aid Knuckles. I guess he remembers everything then. Sonic's parents feel bad about being angry with Sonic and Tails because it's not their fault the magical powers people need to make use of. Mina shows up when Sonic's sleeping, and Sonic's parents tell him about her, probably with her intention being to finally learn how to control her speed better. Then Nate thinks to himself that he's managed to fully decipher Uncle Chuck's message somehow, and plans to tell Elias what he's learned. Elias is fully informed, and Jeffrey actually makes me chuckle saying, "Brilliant. Simply brilliant. We risk our necks to get something from Robotnik which he doesn't even possess." I love that. That's a very relatable, snarky line. Elias says he bets Kodos knows where Arachnus is, and they plan to interrogate him even though he's not in his right mind due to inexplicable radiation poisoning, and so what he'll tell them might not even be true. He'd lied to them in his normal state of mind anyways, though. Maybe at least this way he'll be more likely to not bother lying, especially since he's mad at Arachnus. After Elias feels insecure, thinking that he somehow mishandled the ruling, being under the impression that a ruler has to be absolutely perfect, Sally asks some help from some ladies, so I'm guessing she disguises herself as them to go see Sonic. After Mina crashes during a practice run with Sonic, and I wonder if her body is magically made to shield her from crash injuries at that speed too, Sonic tells Tails that he'll meet him at his parents in 5 minutes, and Tails asks where that noise came from. Mina gets stressed out and takes her anger at herself out on Sonic, saying she thought they had so much in common, only to learn that Sonic's obviously way faster and more in control. That's because he has more experience, I'm assuming. After Sonic says that he says to Mina that he was only teasing about something, and that it's all part of being a freedom fighter, Mina happily says that Sonic thinks she has what it takes to be a freedom fighter, which I'm sure Sonic didn't really mean, but since she has super speed, I guess she might, a little. Unfortunately, Mina gives Sonic a little kiss right as I think Sally's approaching, and fortunately Sonic at least immediately gets nervous and tells her to stop since he has a girlfriend, although that didn't stop him from wanting to get the girl when he found other Sallys. But as I expected, Sally gets sad and leaves without approaching him at all, before she could actually see that Sonic backed away from Mina, and therefore wasn't cheating on her. Either it's her paranoia kicking in again, or she's worried that Sonic will move on, which makes sense considering she's been extremely neglectful of him recently and they don't spend much time together. Maybe if Sally had special powers, she could accompany Sonic on his adventures all the time without being a liability. Unfortunately, Kodos escapes, which makes me really annoyed that they didn't handcuff him to the bed like they would with any other hospitalized prisoner. Or maybe they did and he just broke free of the handcuffs with super strength. He certainly looks like he has it. After an out-of-breath Jeffrey tells Sally to tell Elias that Kodos has gone after the sword, Sally says, "That does it!" being frustrated at him saying to tell Elias, not her. And I briefly worry that she's snapped after all that stress. But instead, she looks serious, gets straight down to business and says, "Dr. Quack, these agents need fixing. And what's happened to Kodos?" She's clearly very tired of not being in charge. Dr. Quack explains that Kodos went mad from prolonged exposure to the harmful toxins of Robotropolis, and considering he was living in the sewers, that makes sense. Without medical treatment, he would have died. Sally says that she's going after him, desperate to be back to her old self again, and she declines letting Sonic come along with the weak excuse that it's too late, when really she's just mad at him for Mina kissing him. Yeah, that makes sense. Walking in the woods, Broder says that they can cover more ground by splitting up, and Sally says that Tails will signal them if he sees anything from above. She remembers Mina kissing Sonic again, looking sad, basically emphasizing how upset she is at it, with Sonic's eyes being closed, enjoying it in her memory, because I guess she distorted it, misremembering it, because she didn't really understand what was going on. Until she sees Arachnus, who is apparently injured, and they're surprised that she can talk, but she's whispering, so maybe it's that she was always shy and didn't like doing it. Unfortunately, Kodos approaches them from behind right as she's saying this, and Nate catches up with Sonic and Mina and tells Sonic what's been going on, causing Sonic to run along, wondering why Sally didn't come get him. We then see Antoine and Bunny being sad in Knothole Prison, watching his father sadly because he's still under Robotnik's control. Sonic says that he might know a way to restore his free will, hoping that the two will leave this place to help, and with that, the story ends. In the next story, we see Dimitri panicking from turbulence in airship. What I assume is Tragok from the Eye, but obviously isn't, says that the shock wave came out of nowhere and there's no indication of it on any of the forward sensors. They figure out from a magical scanner where the energy wave came from, the floating island. Dimitri wonders if it's a monitoring system by the Guardians, and asks if that's the only signal they're receiving. So why are they in this airship anyways? I thought they would have landed on the floating island a long time ago. Another signal shows the transmission of Knuckles battling some creature, only to vanish for some reason. And Commissar asks when Knuckles acquired such abilities. Dimitri orders to reverse the airship's course for a new flight plan, and we see Knuckles, still in pain but at least perfectly able to walk around, saying that he feels the way the floating island looks. And after Knuckles sees Julie Sue with the Dark Legionnaire in front of her, and what looks like Knuckles in front of him, Knuckles says that he really must be losing it. Then Hawking, wearing his cowboy hat as a ghost, since this is probably the look he prefers to show himself, is told by Knuckles that he doesn't remember him at all despite looking familiar, all because he looks younger with his more preferred look. I'm glad he's back to being useful again, even if as a ghost. He's told that he can bridge the gap between time and space, whatever that means, since he still can't time travel. Wait a minute, is his seeing Julie get kidnapped the time travel? Knuckles says that now they're back in Haven, when he thinks that he just saw it smashed up. Then a text blurb explaining that Knuckles is referring to events that happened over the last several issues, but occurred over the span of mere moments to him, probably due to his current state. Knuckles is told that Hawking's physical form has expired, and at one point Knuckles lampshades sadly, "Don't I have a say in any of this?" He then wonders why he isn't in pain like before. If Hawking cured him of it, he should have said so. This doesn't really make any sense. After the Dark Legion figures out that the energy is coming from Knuckles in Haven, Dimitri orders Landa to go fetch Julie Sue and doesn't give a proper answer when all he had to say was to be a better hostage. Suddenly, the high energy reading on the sensors disappears, but then Knuckles warps to the airship, somehow knowing that it was there and he needed to warp inside. The story ends with Knuckles questioning them about what's happened. The first story was written by Carl Bollers, and significant events in it include Sally assuming that Sonic's cheating her because I guess she was too far away to hear Sonic telling Mina nervously not to kiss him, even though I'd like to think Mobians like Sally would have way better hearing than that. And we also have Kodos insane and yet somehow able to escape the hospital bed and go after the sword, ending off with him approaching Sally and Arachnus from behind. Uh-oh. Certainly a lot of important things are happening here, like Sally seeming to really want to get back to being useful again no matter what the King and Jeffrey say. Sally also looks totally emotionless in response to being told that somebody went insane from poisoning. This is where she starts to become the stoic, basically suppressing and bottling up all of the emotions that she could possibly show because she doesn't want to look weak, completely putting it into overdrive. And all started from her seeing Mina kiss Sonic. And the second story has Knuckles warp onto the Dark Legion's airship as it's approaching the floating island after pointlessly being told by Hawking of his fate. Nothing much happens here other than the confusing Knuckles sees Knuckles and Julie's kidnapping part. It's a lead-in story.